All right, we got a fun one today. We got the Rapsodo MLM2Pro. I'm comparing that against the Garmin R10. See which one's data I like better, see which one gives more data, and ultimately see if it's worth it to pay a little more for the MLM2Pro when compared to the Garmin R10.
The first big difference is the app interfaces. Rapsodo looks a lot more like TrackMan. Garmin looks a lot more cartoony. For me personally, it's a lot more satisfying to practice when I can see my ball flight as well as 8 different data points. So depending on what I'm working on, I have access to a lot more data points where I don't have to tap in and customize. With the Garmin, if you want to see your ball flight, you can still see up to 3 data points with the ball flight. Now, if you don't want to see your ball flight, you can look at a whole bunch of data points just like you can on the Rapsodo, but it's not going to be in conjunction with the ball flight. Now, on the flip side of this, the Garmin did load a little bit faster. The lag wasn't miserable on the Rapsodo, but it was a little noticeable when comparing side by side with the Garmin. Now, the next thing I want to point your attention to is the attack angle and the club path. Those are two pretty important stats that very recently Rapsodo just added to the MLM2Pro. Now, on some of my shots, you're going to see that these stats are pretty wildly different. The reason for that being is this: the MLM uses radar and a camera to get its information, and that camera is helping actually measure the club speed, the club path, and the angle of attack. Whereas the Garmin is radar only, it's using other data that it measured to estimate that attack angle and that club path. So in terms of club path and attack angle, the Rapsodo is actually measuring it. Those are going to be a lot more trustable numbers on these data. And speaking of attack angle, for a scratch golfer, for a good golfer, typically you're going to see attack angles between -2 and -4 degrees. So you're coming down on the ball 2 to 4 degrees. You can see that's something I need to work on. Most of my shots are between 5 and 9 degrees on the attack angle. So I come in way too steep, and it's something I need to work on if I want to get more consistent ball striking, less fat shots, less thin shots. Those data points are very valuable to have, and knowing that is helping me already to get cleaner ball striking. And now club path can be a very valuable measurement, but it's useless on its own. You have to use it in conjunction with your club face. So for example, this shot had a club path of 2.3 positive. That means in to out. That club path could result in a slice further right than forward. It could result in a hook. It all depends on what your club face was doing at impact. You want the face to be half the path. So my path was plus 0.9. I would want my face to be about half a degree open for an ideal shot here.
Just popping that left hip. That's when I'm starting to hit going clean contact because I'm not trying to murder it. I'm just popping that hip back. Pow, 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 pow.
I don't know if you guys have seen that TikTok, but it's very funny and actually very helpful. In terms of carry, I know I carry 175 to 180, so I'm trusting the Rapsodo here. Now, calibration will make a big difference. So part of the reason Garmin is off could be it's not quite calibrated right. It's really important to check your distances from the monitor to the ball and from the ball to the net. There's a lot of videos on that. I'm not going to go over it here. Let's get into some wedges. Let's talk about spin data with these two monitors. Now again, the R10 is only using radar, and because of that, if you're hitting into a net or a screen, there's just not enough room for it to collect all the data, so it has to make guesses. The MLM uses the camera and the radar and is able to pick up enough data to give you more accurate actual measurements of spin even when hitting into a net. The R10 is going to produce great numbers out on the range, out on the course, but into a net, it just doesn't have enough data to measure. So it's going to be guessing. And you can see the discrepancies here on a lot of these shots. That was almost 1,000 spin rate difference from the MLM to the Garmin. This one's 2,500. Now, if you're wanting accurate spin measurements, a 2,500 discrepancy is a big deal. If you're hitting into a net or a screen and you want spin data, you got to go with the MLM2Pro. And if you've been looking at the attack angle, you're noticing some obvious discrepancies as well. That last one was 1.5 positive on the Garmin, minus 6.5 on the MLM. That's a huge discrepancy. So if you want the best data on your attack angle, club path, and spin, you got to go with the MLM2 Pro. If those data points aren't necessarily the most important to you, then you could be fine with the Garmin R10. There's still a lot of value, a lot of good things with the R10. And again, if you're out on the range, the R10 does a lot better with those spin data points. I also wanted to try some really short shots to see how they picked up the 25 yarders.
Yeah, the Garmin's not picking up those short ones. The MLM's having no trouble with those. So that's another point for the Rapsodo.
And keep in mind that I am using RPT balls, which are built for the MLM for this test. If I'm using RCT balls that are built for the Garmin, I am going to get a little bit tighter data points. It's going to do a little bit better. It's still estimating spin with the RCT balls, but it has a little bit more data to be a little bit more accurate on those estimates. And it will pick up a few more of the shorter shots when we're using the RCT balls.
This is an aspect of the game that simulators are great for. If you can dial your partial wedges, I want to be able to carry exactly 50 when I want to, exactly 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. If you can get good at that, your scores are going to almost guaranteed drop. You're going to have a lot more fun because you're going to have more looks at birdies. So this is a great thing to spend your time on if you're using a sim, is just get those wedges dialed. We don't need vanity metrics. We don't need blasting drives. If you're serious about getting better at golf, just play wedges with your sim and the improvement will come fast. All right, here we go. Let's go 60 yards.
Now, they both did a phenomenal job in measuring carry distance when using the 58 degree. They were almost always within 1 yard of each other.
All right, let's try another 60 yarder here.
So even though the Garmin might be off in some of its estimates
That should be a nice spinny
of
one.
other data points, it did really good getting the carry distance right with the wedges with that 58 degree. So that's definitely a point for Garmin. It's not useless against a net or a screen. It has a lot of really good applications. You just got to make sure you know what you're getting that's actually measured and what's a little bit of an estimate that might not be perfect information for you. And I just want to reiterate what I told you guys there on the screen. Um, if you're serious about getting better, if you have an access to a launch monitor, partial wedges are one of the absolute best things you can work on. It's going to help you learn how to hit the shot the direction you want to.
This is why I'm telling you to work on this, because if I work on it, it's going to change my scores dramatically.
And it's going to help you carry the ball the exact distance that you want to until you are an ace with your wedges, saving a lot more pars, getting a lot more looks at birdie. This works so quickly too. My last round, I already had a lot more close putts because I was doing better with my wedges after practicing them on the sim only for a few sessions.
So this one, we're going to go 50 yards.
There's a lot of systems out there you can use to get better at these partial wedges. I personally like the clock system where I'm paying attention to how far back my hands go based on what distance I want it to go.
Brand new Ping G440 LST. I'm stoked to be playing it. Let's see how it does on the sim. Never swung it. This is my first swing with this club.
Okay, guys, one thing that's going to add a lot of utility on the simulator for you is paying attention when you're on the course, when you're on the range, what the shot felt like and how far it went, so you can start to know what your shots are doing when you hit them on the sim.
Ooh, that was Healy. Probably a low slicer. Garmin did not register the Healy slice, what the MLM did. That's a big deal. So I know, like the feel of that shot, it was off the heel. I know it's coming back into the middle. MLM caught that. The Garmin did not catch that.
The more you can feel and understand what your shots are doing, the more you can trust your launch monitor when it tells you what it tells you. Which is one of the reasons I know I can trust the spin numbers of the MLM2Pro, because looking at these shots, when I was feeling these shots, seeing the numbers it spit out, the spin numbers on the MLM just made sense.
I hammered that one, but way out to the right.
And you can see here another reason to trust the MLM. That showed it going right. The Garmin showed it dead straight, which I knew that was a push. So again, when hitting into a short target, be it a net or a screen, the MLM is definitely giving me more accurate data.
Garmin didn't even recognize that one went right.
Now, guys, I'm not trying to suggest that the Rapsodo MLM2Pro is perfect. That last shot had a smash factor of 1.5. That's pretty rare, especially for someone of my caliber of golf, so I don't trust that. Smash factor is one of the things that are estimated on both launch monitors. That's a more difficult thing to accurately measure, but both monitors seem to be within a couple hundredths.
That's going to be low on the face and pulled left.
And you can see we're still getting some pretty big discrepancies on the carry distance between these two monitors. I know my shot pretty well, I know my swing pretty well, and I can tell you the MLM was a lot more accurate. For an indoor sim, if you're hitting into a net or a screen like I am here and you have the budget, go for the MLM.
That one's way out to the right.
The data is just going to be a whole lot better for you, much more reliable. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're looking for an ego boost, Garmin did give me bigger numbers, both on the 7-iron and on the driver. So if you want to feel like you're a big boy,
That was much better.
get the Garmin. It'll lie to you to boost your ego. It's kind of like ChatGPT, just tells you what you want to hear. Before I built this nicer backyard setup, I had a pretty ghetto setup and I just had my R10 and it did a lot of good things for me. It helped my game, it helped my ball striking. The Garmin R10 is still a very valuable tool for a golf simulator. It just doesn't give quite as much, quite as accurately measured data. It's not quite as comprehensive as the MLM2. But if you're using the Garmin R10 with an RCT ball, you're still going to get good data. It's still going to help you get better at golf. And most importantly, you're going to have a fun time with your golf sim. So both of these are great options. The MLM is going to cost a little more. It's going to give you a little bit better data, a little more reliable data. Either one's a great option. I'm going to pull up this chart for you guys here so we can do a quick comparison. The MLM, you got camera plus radar, more accurate carry, more accurate spin, more accurate attack angle and path. All of those things are just going to be a little bit better with the MLM2Pro. R10, if you're using the RCT ball, you're going to get a little bit better data. If you're using it out on the range, you're going to get phenomenal data. The R10 is fantastic out in open space. It just needs that room to take actual measurements with the radar. Last thing I learned was that I suck. I need to get more consistent with my attack angle and my club path. See you next time.